Alright, welcome back to ESA Summer 23, the European Speedrunning Marathon. Tell your family, invite all your friends, because this event we are raising money for Alzheimer Fonden. You can find links to donate below the stream. We would like to thank our sponsors, such as Twitch. Glorious, provider of amazing computer peripherals. Type !Glorious in chat to find out more. We'd also like to thank Red Wolf Networks and the new ultra-fast roguelite releasing on August 2nd called Ninja or Die, which is wishlisted now on Steam, and type !Ninja in chat to find out more. But now, it's time for our runner, RaggedDan, running totally accurate battle simulator. Take it away.
Oh, right, hello ESA, I'm RaggedDan, and this is Totally Accurate Battle Simulator, as Corey said, thank you. It's a little bit unusual for speedrunning, so if you've not heard of anything to do with speedrunning this before, I don't blame you. I'm going to get straight into it because I think it's best to make up a bit of time on stream one. The time begins when we place down the first unit, and I'll try and do some explanation about what I'm doing as we go on. It's a little bit fast-paced, so I apologize if I'm talking a lot of the time or anything like that. 3, 2, 1, go. So in the category that I'm doing, it's a little bit of a category that we've just sort of come up with specifically for the event, which is the original 3 campaigns. So I'm starting with the introduction, and then I'm going to move on to the adventure, and then the challenge. And the point of this game, if you've never heard of it before, okay, I'm going to come up with the safety for this because it's already going badly. The point of this game is that you simulate these very accurate battles with various enemy units. You have a certain amount of money to take out the enemy's units, and you have a limited amount of money yourself. Usually you have less money than the enemy has used, so you have to play to their weaknesses, or you've got to come up with something creative. But in the speedrunning case, we're going to come up with some slightly broken strategies, or exploits if you like. They're very recurring sorts of stuff. So there's one thing we use a lot of the time, which I've not used yet, called the cheerleader. And I like to call it the cheerleader effect, because after the song by Carpenter Brut. I hope that made sense to one person in the audience at least. That would have been an accomplishment if it is. And what the cheerleader does, if I can explain when it comes up, is essentially it just increases the speed at which a unit attacks. It'll make more sense when it comes up. And I'm sorry about the tutorial, by the way. That is not anything I can get rid of. It's actually not a perfect time to be running the game in some ways because, sorry, I've got some health bars that aren't on. I don't know why this has happened. It's because I haven't set it up properly. Oh well, I'm so sorry. Let's get back into this. Basically, this isn't an opportune time to actually do this in terms of speedrunning because there are a couple of bugs in the game at the moment that make it less consistent, or some of the units don't work properly. It's very confusing. Oh, I meant to control one of these guys on this level. Apologies. Basically, I have to memorize a specific strategy for all of these levels. And one of the problems with the game at the moment is there's a unit that doesn't work properly. I'll mention that when we get back onto it again. And here's the first use of the cheerleader, the first proper use of the cheerleader. What we need to do is spawn in a unit that has sort of a powerful attack. Whoa, I've placed the wrong thing. This is going so poorly. Oh my god. Right, secret and cheerleader, as you can see here. And then we just place down this bomb cannon. Place down too many. Like this. There we go. I shouldn't have any more problems like that. I'm just getting used to the hardware, I guess, if you like. And what the cheerleader does is increase the speed of the unit, as I've said. But the reason it's brilliant for speedrunning is because it stacks indefinitely. So we can use as many cheerleaders as we can possibly afford with one attacking unit. And then we can just use that for the entire duration of the run. And yeah, it's brilliant. We can use lots of cheerleaders particularly with the bomb cannon that I'm using at the moment, as you can see here. Yeah, bomb cannon, very frequent use of this. I should be underestimating this. I wouldn't imagine there'd be any problems with it, although there are a couple of levels like this that are very RNG based. We didn't used to even allow people to use this first person mode in this game, but we now do, which is much better for RNG, because obviously we can control the units and actually have an impact on what they're doing and what's going on. The point of this game is it's a sort of goofy simulator game, so it's not really, first of all, it's not meant for speedrunning. Second of all, it's not really meant to be consistent either. In fact, if you place down the same configuration of units, then they won't do exactly the same thing if you simulate it again. So it's difficult in terms of consistency, definitely. but we got a few strategies that just make it a lot easier, like the bomb cannon, for example. And this is a level that we would normally use something a bit different on. It's called the Tempest Lich, and it spawns in a thundercloud, but that's not working at the moment, so I thought we would use this unit called the Dragon instead. What this does is it sprays a lot of fire, as you can see, and it jumps around wildly. So hopefully it does kill this last character. Oh no, there's one in this alley as well. Yeah, they've gone absolutely haywire. Let's try it again. And there's nothing I can do to affect levels like this. I just have to hope that it works out. So in terms of speedrunning, it's not brilliant, but it isn't. It could be a lot worse, basically. There are some levels that used to be so much less consistent. And you can see there, I didn't change anything, but it's simulated completely differently. So there's a lot to be said for placing a unit in a specific way to make it more consistent. That was very good. Yeah. Oh, I should say there's a Kirby plush behind me because there's a runner called CGF that wasn't able to travel to Sweden. Amazing girl. Very, very good at running the game nowadays, and one of the only few people who does still run it, to be honest. But yeah, I thought I'd bring the plush along to represent her. Can we use this? This is another use of slightly different strategy we've got for it, called the Ballista. And this has a much more refined projectile. That the idea of this is that it takes out units that have got a lot of health, instead of units that have, or instead of a large group of units. Coming towards the end of the introduction, which is a little bit of it's a roller coaster in terms of, I don't know, it's in terms of, you got lots of different strategies you've got to use at different times, and then we also have the challenge a bit later on, which is kind of like that, but it should be fairly consistent. I think a Ballista might have been better to use on this one as well. Can we get this unit? Yeah, this is obviously a unit that has lots of health, so it would have been better to use a Ballista. Anyway, I apologize for that. We use Ballista on this one, however, it's much more consistent. Because we have these, I don't know, they're called Jarls or something like that. There's sort of the top chieftain Viking units that you may have seen before. If you've heard of this game, it may be in terms of a very old alpha version. Okay, let me use it. Actually, for this one, actually. We use Dragons, which is more consistent. It burns everything to the ground, and that should be the end of the introduction. We're a third of the way there. All going quite well so far. We'll move on to the adventure now as quickly as possible. I thought about maybe starting with this because it's sort of, I don't know, it's easy to explain what's going on in terms of, I don't know, you use the bomb cannon and cheerleaders quite a lot first off. That's more obvious, and this level is very annoying. It can be anywhere from 10 to 30 seconds long. It's very different. When I was here ESA Summer last year, I ran the adventure by itself. I didn't think it covered a huge amount of the game, so I switched over to requesting that we do all 3 of the original campaigns, which is a little bit more interesting because we cover a few more areas. But basically, if you haven't grasped the idea of this so far, there is just an amount of money, or if you're just tuning in, I should say, really. There's an amount of money we have in the top left that I'm looking at, and then we just spend that as much as we can until we can buy a unit for a lot of these levels. In terms of cheerleaders, they increase the speed, no cap, so as many cheerleaders as you possibly want to use. And then we occasionally have levels like this that are called destinations, where we either fight 1 or 2 of a particular unit, and that's generally you have exactly as much money to buy an exact copy of what they've done. But because that's really inconsistent, sometimes we can buy something better. This is so silly, I apologize. Occasionally that can go very wrong, as I'm glad that that's worked out quite well. We've got it pretty quickly. The load times are also very good on ESA's computer, so I thank ESA for that very much, and any sponsors involved in that. Do we still use the bomb cannon here? No, we use a different unit here called the Devout Gauntlet. I think it's the only time we use this, but we have no money at all. We have to get to the end of this level and then push these units off the cliff. This level is just a type of, it introduces you to the mechanics, I guess. This unit just runs away from you, so all of them will run into the wall, so there's nothing I can do really to increase the speed of that. This unit is the cheapest one that gets over there quickly. If you like, that's the only effect we can have on that level. We can just get over there a little bit more quickly. And a lot of them are like that, I'm afraid. You just got to play to the unit's weaknesses, which I guess is the point of the game anyway. I suppose we're doing around about 115 levels in total. It sounds like a lot, but some of them are really short. So we haven't exactly enough money for a clubber on this one. Can we get them down here? I'm missing constantly. There's nothing I can do about this. Just have to hope that he doesn't kill me. We'll try it again. See if we can get him. He's fallen off. Nope. Still very inconsistent hits. There we go. So all of the destination levels are a little bit like that. There's only a few of them, a few of the later ones that I can actually get a different unit for. I suppose I better shout out at some point in this run, better early than never, I suppose, in this case. There's a guy called Easy Speezy, you might have heard of, on YouTube. Makes lots of variety content on speedrunning. He made a video about Totally Accurate Battle. Maybe a couple of videos about Totally Accurate Battle Simulator. I just killed all my cheerleaders, can you believe it? We're gonna have to go far away from the halflings. He made a lot of, he makes a lot of speedrunning content on slightly sillier speedruns, or speedruns that are just a little bit different from the normal. And Totally Accurate Battle Simulator was one of them. That was really cool because it grew the community like tenfold overnight. Has that defeated us? It has. I blew up my own cannon before I blew all of them up. Okay, it's fine. This time I will actually not kill the cheerleaders accidentally with my own bombs. There's not a setting for friendly fire in this or anything like that. That would be far too easy. So we just have to move around. Okay, I've blown my cannon up again. Does happen sometimes. Whoop. There we go. We're gonna play this really safe now. Don't worry. And yeah, there are a lot of levels that end up later on with slightly more complicated battles. This one is a very simple one where unfortunately we are just mowing down halflings. No prizes for guessing what that's a reference to. The Lord of the Rings universe for stuff. There isn't an incentive for this game this time. I did have one last time, but there are a couple of cool incentives coming up, like the Duolingo incentive, where they will do Klingon, apparently, I'm told, which sounds really exciting. That's a couple of runs after this as well. And then in a moment, there will be time for a donation. I'm just going to finish the next couple of strategies. This one is another good old bomb cannon. Just got to get a few here, get to the next destination. Is this another destination now? Yes, it is. We've got to use a farmer. This is another farmer. Sometimes he does die by falling off, occasionally. Oh, the AI is... The thing about one-on-one fights, the AI is just better than the player could ever really be at it. I don't know why. It's very strange, but it's just the way it works. I think we can use the ballista here as well. It's a lot more efficient for taking out these sort of high health units, but only if I've got decent... only if I've got... I don't know exactly what I mean, like if I can move the mouse around precisely enough. This is an extremely quick level. We have to use a lot of these barrel rollers. I used it on the very first level of the run. They sort of just blow up immediately upon impact with an enemy, and if you put them like that, directly in front of them, it'll be fine. This is another quick one. Throw a spear at him. That's a destination. We could use a Saris' spear for it, but actually you can afford a guy that just throws a spear instead of holding one. So yeah, we can defeat them with range. That's quite a frequent strategy as well. You have to defeat them with range when there are units that don't use anything to do with range. Very cool. Are we now on this? Yes, there we can use a dragon either side of this. So this level there are lots of these healing characters. They're all healing one attacking knight character. That would work really well if they had fire resistance. Because they don't, we can melt them all like that. It's very straightforward. And the dragon is really useful in the challenge, which is coming up after this campaign. Yeah, there are a lot more interesting campaigns that have been released since the original 3 ones of these. The Introduction, Adventure, and Challenge are the ones I'm doing today, but there's also a Dynasty campaign that has Asian-based units, and there are also there's also a campaign that has Wild Western units, one that has pirate units. I believe I could remember all the strategies for that if I was really pressed to, but I haven't. They're not involved in this run today. So do check this game out for yourself. Do check it out on speedrun.com, of course. You can probably improve upon my terrible sword combat skills here. Can we please get him? He's turned around and I can't get it. Sometimes your hit doesn't also kill them immediately. It's really, really hard to imagine why that would happen. Actually, this is as good a time as any for a donation. I think this would be good. We should use a gunslinger here to kill these people.
Perfect, because now we have met the Duolingo incentive for Klingon as a bonus language. And to celebrate that, I got an amazing donation by RoboSparkle for $28.34 to match the amount exactly.
Oh,
and
perfect.
The message reads, I don't know, or something like that. This apparently translates to, you can encounter Kalis in your grace. You will not go to me, or something like that. So yes, this was Klingon and a short preview for what you can expect in about an hour. So thank you for your donations. And the next incentive up would be Risk of Rain, for which we still have almost $2,000 left. So let's make sure we can meet this incentive.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch that now. What's happening in this level is there are a bunch of units that start in a cave, and I was thinking I could use some dragons to go in and burn them out as they walk out, but the dragons are not behaving, and they're all stuck and it's not worked. So what I'm going to do instead is, hopefully this doesn't lose a lot of time, we're going to use a wizard, which is a very subtle reference to Gandalf the Grey. We're just going to right-click a few times. With cheerleaders, of course, and hopefully it all works out. And they'll all run into our path. And I think one of them is stuck again, but it's okay because we can walk in quite easily this time. God, where are they? This is very bad. Very bad RNG there, unfortunately. And there is a lot of instances where there is bad RNG. But luckily, there isn't really any RNG for some of these levels. Just throw a rock at them. It's all working. It's all perfect. In this level, there are some quirks to these later levels. Is this a later level? Were you there already? Am I behind schedule? Probably not. Some of these levels, you have units in front and behind you. That's a much bigger theme with the modern campaigns, Good and Evil, that have been released. There's a unit stuck in the tree over there. I've not seen that before. I probably have and just can't remember, but it seems very, very unusual. Units down there, that's all fine, but luckily it's not too bad. These cannons are very maneuverable. There's another RNG level. We're going to use these things called Watchers, and they fire a barrage of arrows. It's really fun to use on the mammoths. Oh, it's brilliant. It's all worked out perfectly. And usually what happens is one of the mammoths gets stuck, one of the Watchers gets stuck, something goes really wrong like that. Can we get all of the Berserkers out? Yes, we can. Very nice. What they do, these Berserker Vikings, is they have a leap ability. They can jump on the buildings that are over here, for example, and take out all these catapults better than any ranged character can. So it's very useful for that. And here's another destination level. We could buy another Berserker Viking to fight this one, but we can actually just buy a guy who has a rifle, and it's worked out very well. And there are quite a lot of those levels coming up as well. We can just buy a rifle or something similar. We can buy a Musketeer, he's called, which is very effective. There is a couple of these levels coming up with just bomb cannons, which will be another good time for a donation, but there aren't any. Is there anything else to say, or shall I continue with explanations?
I mean, I want to remind people that they can get their own charity t-shirt at speedrun.store for $22, and $8 out of that will go directly to charity. So grab your own ESA Summer 2023 t-shirt at speedrun.store.
Thank you. And obviously, this is a marathon that's benefiting Alzheimer Fund, and top charity. I really strongly recommend donating to them. There are also lots of cool prizes you can win if you don't. If you do donate a certain amount, you can check it out on the donation website or link on the ESA website. I mean, the garbled announcement, but you get what I'm trying to say, I hope. And we can use another Musketeer on this level to take him out. Should be straightforward. Occasionally they do miss, which is really annoying. I have no idea how that happens, why it happens, or how I can possibly avoid it happening. But we can use dragons again on this level. It's all going very well. There's another quirk of this game that, as far as I'm aware, you can't turn off, which is you have various people who can spawn with deformities or things like that. They can have particularly large bodies or something like that. The enemies or the players' own spawns, which is really, it's not brilliant for speedrunning, I suppose. Someone in the chat has said epilepsy warning. I suppose there's sort of, but I didn't think it would be a particular problem for this. I guess that there is a certain chance that this is a lot of colors moving around quickly. So I massively apologize for that if you do have difficulties with it. However, this level involves a unit that I was talking about earlier, which is a little bit broken in the current patch. What it's meant to do is fire storm clouds at distance, and it seems to be working pretty well here, actually. On my home computer it doesn't, on other people's computers it doesn't, but it's meant to fire these storm clouds at a much greater range than it actually does, than it actually appeared to be doing there. So we can normally beat it just from sitting in this corner, that level. But on the current patch, I don't think that they don't work very well. I don't know exactly what's wrong with it. Okay, that went about as badly as it can happen. What it's meant to happen here is this sword guy is meant to stab through this chap, and then this musketeer is meant to shoot him at the same time. There we go, it worked out eventually. And that's, in theory, the quickest way of beating that. The first attempt, they both just died immediately, and there was nothing I could do about it. This is the mammoth one, yes it is. We can use the ballista again to fight this one. Ugh. And yeah, I'll just say again, if you're tuning in, cheerleaders, really frequent strategy in this. They just increase the speed of everything I'm doing. So I'm not using any kind of advanced technology to cheat on this. It's just using a certain unit at an excessive quantity. This is also an introduction to the pike. This level, it has this one-use attack that's very strong, and it's just going to jab forward into the mammoth in this case, hopefully. And it's particularly useful for killing big units that we'll see later on as well in destinations. There's probably another wheelbarrow somewhere. There we go. And the point of the Tempest Lich is that it's meant to fire out these storm clouds that get them eventually. at some point. Are we meant to use barrel rollers for this one? No, I feel like maybe we could use barrel rollers for that, but we're going to use... Sorry if my memory is not amazing for some of this, because a lot of levels are very similar. Despite all of my practice for this, I still forget during run attempts and stuff like that. This level's a little bit more confusing for a destination. We're going to use 5 of these guys called Cavalier. Are they called Cavaliers? No, that's not what they're called. Ignore me. They're just called fencers, or so they've got fencing swords. And they can jab forwards and then get back very quickly, which is useful. It worked out very well there. Sometimes it doesn't work so well. Oh yeah, if you're aware of the potion seller meme, then this level is just full of potion sellers. Luckily, they do die to the bomb cannon, but occasionally what happens is the potion sellers get forward to you quickly, and they just fire out... Okay, their potions essentially confuse your units, so it becomes much harder to control, and they start going in different directions, and it's very weird. And it's very, very annoying to watch unfold. Luckily, if you're quick enough, you can avoid it completely. That guy should definitely be dead. That level is just a line of berserkers. We're meant to use the Tempest Lich, but it's not working so well. So I've decided to ignore that strategy for that level. We can use a Ballista again. These are... what are we fighting here? Minotaurs. And the Minotaurs are... they have a lunging forward attack, but if you get them quickly enough, then it's all fine. Oh, if you remember what I was talking about to do with the pikes, this is a good level to show that off. That guy's meant to have a lot of health, but they all jab forwards at an incredible... I don't know, they just all jab forward at the same time. He loses all of his health, and we can leave the level there. Pretty straightforward. Yep, there's another bomb cannon level, more Valkyries and stuff like that. I guess I should shout out other various people from the community. I guess, obviously I should. There are awesome people who speedrun this game, despite how difficult and frustrating it has been in the past. Particularly just with... We used to disallow things arbitrarily, like the... cheerleaders were disallowed at one point just because we thought that would be too unfair of a strategy. We thought it would dominate the game. And to be fair, it does, but it also makes it a lot more consistent to actually run it and get decent times. So it's a bit of a trade-off. If you want to do that, then that's obviously much more useful. We recently created some categories. Sorry, this guy is terrible. We recently created some categories to allow this thing called the Bug DLC, which is, it's self-explanatory. It's just a DLC that adds in a bunch of sort of cheats or console commands, if you like, but in very simple form. And one of the things it allows you to do is just spawn in arrows that explode on the enemies before anything's even happened. And we thought it would be quite a fun idea to have some categories for them. It's been requested a lot of times. So we implemented some, and then it's been discovered by a runner I can't remember the name of, which is really going to annoy me. I'm so sorry I can't remember the name. I think they're called Indo something. Indo person, I don't know. You'll have to check out the leaderboard for this. But they discovered that it's just, you can just use these arrows on every level, and it's faster than mostly every strategy. So it's a bit boring to speedrun that sort of stuff, but you can, and it's certainly still, it's a very valid category. In fact, it's much less RNG than this. This wheelbarrow guy's meant to fall down, but it's got stuck on here. And the problem with the AI pathfinding this, we'll see more of later, is so bad that they think it's best to walk up the stairs and go to them, instead of trying to just stand here and jab at them or something. We have quite an interactive free cam with this as well, which is fun. We can look at all the battles in pretty good detail. We have another level where we use a ballista and cheerleader, so it's a little bit dull. But the challenge campaign is a little bit different to that, except for the last run of levels, which is really, like, it just uses bomb cannon after bomb cannon after bomb cannon. And it does get dull for that reason alone, that it's just one strategy. But if I'm going underestimate, certainly, by a couple of minutes, I'll do something quite fun for the last level. In a whole game, in a whole run, I should say, not the whole game. Come on, there's only 3 guys there. I'll do an interesting strategy that's a little bit different, that does work out pretty well. It involves using a tank, so stick around for that if you're interested in seeing a tank in this game. Let me see if we can do this again. The dragons are really, really wildly inconsistent. It's very frustrating. But they should be able to get these guys this time. They're all in the correct positions. Yes, it's gone very well. And that level we used to also use a Tempest Lich, but again, not working super well in the current patch. In terms of other runners that I want to thank for this, there's Armored Cookie, there is Growing Gravity, the other 2 mod people for the speedrun.com. They are, they have in the past been particularly experienced runners of this. They haven't done too much in a while, but they're still knocking around in the community. They're really cool people. They're very committed to helping out. Okay. I want to say something as well. That, I've never ever seen that in practice. Why on earth did they miss? I have no explanation at all for this. It just sometimes happens. Also, this level's pretty cool for wanton destruction, I guess, even though it's just a bomb cannon. We can just fire loads of these ships in the distance. It's pretty fantastic. And yes, cheerleaders do affect reload time. It's pretty cool, and it stacks indefinitely, so as much money as you have, you can just add loads and loads of cheerleaders in. It's really, really effective for this. We used to have them banned, as I just said, but it's so much more, it's more fun, and it's also more consistent to actually get good times in this. Here we can get you down. Yes, indeed. Right, very good. We've got a Minotaur here. We're going to use Watcher for this, which I'm going to control. Yep, there we go. And you fire the arrows at a certain time. His charge completely fails there because he has to use it to get off the building, which is rather enjoyable because we can just fire at him with the Watcher and it's brilliant. Very effective. In terms of the rest of the strategies for this campaign, there isn't a lot of different stuff involved. This level is very weird and hard to explain. What happens is all of these boats that are in the water just sink anyway, so we can just ignore them and go for the rest of the enemies that are over here somewhere, get a Tempest Lich, and hopefully spawn in some clouds. This is what I mean. I would be able to fire them there, but I have to really be able to see them, and they have to be really near me for it to work. Not sure why. Apparently Landfall, who made this game, are aware of it and are not prioritizing the fix because they're working on a console update. I think it's just a console release for the PlayStation. That'll be really cool. The catapult here has been very bad. It's going to be executed by firing squad, which is very effective. We could use another catapult there, obviously. This level is almost comical in the amount of money they've given us to fight this mammoth and these scarecrows. We're just going to get this. I don't even know what you would have. This feels like it might be banned by the Geneva Convention. Just send one of these into any kind of conflict. I think we'll be fine. That one's gone off the edge. It might die in the void. Yep, there we go. Sometimes they don't die in the void, and it's very odd, and I don't understand why. That might have just happened a long time ago, and I'm not remembering very well. But it's pretty good. In terms of time, I'm actually not doing too well. Let's see if we can just rocket through some of these other levels, and I'll get to the more interesting stuff later on. Pikes, let's go. Hopefully this works out. Yeah, we're all good for that. And okay, we're coming into the last couple of levels. This level's a little bit weird. We have three total knights. We have 100 monies, so we can only afford to buy one. So our options are either to kill them or just hope that it works out by putting him sort of somewhere else. There is a proper strategy for this that you're meant to use for consistency. I was very lucky there, which I'm not going to have. I don't think I'm going to have the time to show off, so I won't go back to it. But we're coming into the end of the adventure campaign. There's this level and one more, and then we'll move on to the challenge. I have to race through that, seriously. I put in an estimate for this that I think I can just about do. Certainly in a marathon, I can do it casually pretty easily. It's all right. Or casually, I suppose I can do it in practice pretty easily. But last time I was pretty well under. Anyway, end of the adventure. We're 2/3 of the way there. Or not 2/3, I suppose we're well over 2/3, like 3/4 really. But we've done the adventure, we've done the introduction. So now it's just the challenge left. I said it would be more interesting and diverse. And actually, we start off with a bomb cannon, so I'm not really living up to the case so far, but we should be fine. Let's just see if we can take out these guys. We've done that very effectively. We're going to use a little bit of a weird strategy for this one. You're obviously familiar with these maps by now. We've got this one with the buildings, which is particularly bad for consistency because the units pathfinding is so weird. They just sort of walk wherever they feel like. Okay, what is meant to happen, these gunslingers go over the buildings, they take out the units in a certain way, and then hopefully they all die in the first volley. That's happened there, very good. And that would have been very slightly slower, I think, if I just let them do another volley. Obviously, their stuff does recharge, but it's not very well. It takes ages for the gunslingers' volleys to recharge, about 12 seconds. This level is one of the most inconsistent and annoying levels in the whole challenge campaign. I don't really run this anymore because of the inconsistency with some of this stuff. This dragon's just curling around. I don't know what's going on. Gunslinger's waiting to have another volley left. Should die. There we go. Very good. What happens if the people holding up the dragon puppet actually get killed is they just start trying to punch the units. They just go out and they're very weak, but it actually can save the level. Definitely not the end of the world if that happens. Oh, that dragon's been killed. That's very annoying, but it should be fine. We've got the other one. That's unusual as well. Very unusual for that to happen. I believe what on this one we use is a very odd but straightforward sounding idea, which use these riflemen in a triangle, inverted, so that the guys at the back come up later, and then they take out the guys, and they don't all volley at the same time and miss everything. What we're going to use here is, again, it's inconsistent. We're going to use a barrel roller. They explode on impact, as I have shown you in the introduction, and partly in the adventure campaign. We're going to direct everyone here. Hopefully that kills all of the halflings and a little bit of damage on these guys. It hasn't done too well, but as long as we can kill these guys before they get in with the arrow people, we'll be fine. This might be all right. I think he's stuck on something. I'm not sure what. I think it's its own scythe, which is very fortunate. We don't have to restart. Here comes the halfling. It's not enough for the enemy to win it, I'm afraid. What are we going to use on this level? This level is decent for dragons. I think that it just about works. And we've got priests that heal them up, but actually the dragon does outweigh the dragon's fire does outweigh the healing effect, so we're totally fine on that regard. We're going to use a barrel roller and gunslingers on this one. There are just these wheelbarrows that come at us. And if we can blow up right here and then do the guns volley in the AI's hands, the gunslingers are actually much better. So it should be totally fine on levels like that. You can just trust them to work their magic. This level, one mammoth does die to one watcher, so we can always beat them, despite the fact the mammoth costs a lot more. It's really useful to have that. One possible reason for a lot of this stuff working, I should say, is that the campaigns that added the bomb cannon and stuff like the dragon were released after the first 3 campaigns with Dynasty. So maybe there wasn't a lot of compatibility testing, is all I'll say about that. That's not a criticism of the game. It's very fun. Very, very fun casually. You can make your own levels. You can make your own units in this as well. There's an entire workshop for it. It's very enjoyable casually. And for speedrunning, I think it actually holds a lot of merit. That's why I've stuck with it for so many years. I've had a go at this since the alpha. But as I was saying ages ago in the run, you may have heard of this game because of the alpha mode, where you had a little grid, which was all you really had available. Whoops, I didn't have enough money for it there. We just deleted cheerleader. You may have seen this with, you have a grid set up. It's just a grey box, and then you place the units with little white lights. If you know what I mean, then this will make a lot of sense, but if you don't, then it's probably just gibberish. We've got to use dragons here. They essentially just breathe fire into the cave, and there's no way the guys in the cave can get stuck this time, so it's all right. And a lot of the later levels in the challenge, like the last levels, are just the bomb cannon over and over again with cheerleaders, as I said earlier on. So that'll be a brilliant time for any final messages and stuff, and just thanking different people from the community. That's in a few minutes. And we will probably be fine there. What we're going to use here is berserkers, which they'll get in and distract everyone, whilst the dragon comes in from behind and burns everyone. And this is a little bit frequent in some of the other campaigns. We use some kind of unit called the Shadow Walker. Now that's better than the Berserker in some ways for just distracting them, because it teleports rather than jumping, which means we can actually... we'll use the Shadow Walker here, actually. What it does is it teleports directly, so we can see him behind there. I imagine that you can't see anything I'm pointing to on the screen, but hey. I'll say again, in case you're tuning in, there's a Kirby plush back there somewhere because of CGF. Another brilliant runner. I say another brilliant runner like I'm a good runner of this game, but I'm actually cutting it really fine. So there's an enormous chain of bomb cannon levels, so this would be an excellent time for any donations if the reader is available to do so.
Perfect. We've got a $50 donation by Bangosh FM. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly. There is no comment on it, but thank you so much for your donation. And this is also a good time to mention that if we hit the next milestone of $20,000 by about 5 p.m. today, we'll get another game show, as we've seen yesterday, hosted by Big John and with the contestants Huts and Polster. So let's get those donations in to match that milestone.
I remember last ESA there was a brilliant game showcase donation, which was Smarty's Meltdown. I don't know if people will have seen that, but it was highlight the last time I was here. Absolutely brilliant. It's worth donating for bonus games. I would have to implore you to do so. This is another bomb cannon level. Obviously, we just use it like that. Some of these you have to go quite far back for it to be consistent. Now, this is the last level that isn't a bomb cannon, to be honest. I think what we do here, the most consistent thing I've come up with, and it's not brilliant, is we send in these Shadow Walkers to teleport all the way behind. They take out the artillery, and then all of these guys with the Saracens get distracted by them, and then the dragon comes and burns them. And that's pretty good. It's a little bit slow, and this is the sort of thing that really bothers me. I don't know if it bothers any of the other runners about that, but I just think, oh god, this could be more optimized. And if you do want to join this community and get involved with coming up with strategies for these levels, please do, because this is one of those games that will never be as good as like the tasks will never be perfect. There's basically always room for some optimization because of where you place the units and stuff like that. This one's a bit annoying. I don't know if there are snake archers here that are ranged. Yeah, there were. There are these guys that fire snakes and then those lock onto your units and just slowly degrade its health. It's a little bit quirky, but it does work out very well for the enemies, I should say. This is another one where we have to be very fortunate with the bombs exploding on certain characters in the air. Otherwise, it just won't work. We've got to hit them. There's another one there, and you... And there's another guy right at the back. Very good. That's hit them as well. You may have also noticed throughout the run that the things I'm shooting, or like firing, whatever, actually very, very slightly divert towards the enemies. And this is really useful. It just means there's slight auto-targeting, which allows us to sometimes find out where enemies are that are stuck. And there's also health bars, which I've obviously turned on. You can customize that in the settings a lot. And it makes things a lot easier in terms of you can just find out where enemies are or whatever like that. And we get these guys out of the sky on the first try. I think we're fine. There we go. We're coming into some of the later stage levels now. This is not much left. How much do we have left, actually? We've only got 4 more after this one. So we are cutting it close, but we should be all right, I think. Can we go in here? More kings. Sorry, I'm just focusing a lot now because I want to get to the end of it safely. If there's any final things to be read out, then this is an ideal time. Again, it's just the same sorts of strategies for the end of the run. There may well not be.
I mean, I think it's a good time to point out some of the prices that we have. You can get a custom ESA PlayStation 5 or a Tears of the Kingdom limited edition Switch. And of course, there are many others, also smaller prices that you can get if you donate during this marathon. So get those donations in and maybe you'll earn even a small prize.
Oh man, we've got 30 seconds. Can we do it? 2 more levels, I think. Let's see, you go there, and then we do this. I'm not going to do the interesting thing that I talked about for the last level. I'm so sorry. It's just a little bit too close. And we've got a few seconds left to do this. We've got about 10. If there's anyone in the audience, this would be terribly, like this would be a bad time to start counting down. I'm going to miss it by seconds. This is so frustrating. Oh well. I'm gonna hit it like this, and I'm gonna have to be ready on this, I guess. There we go, that's the final level. Well, that's disappointing that I managed to go over it because, I don't know, very nearly 35 minutes. It was always an optimistic estimate, but I'm gonna leave it there so we can move on with the schedule. Don't wanna be too far behind. Yeah, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of ESA. There are a lot of cool donations, incentives coming up. I would check them out, and a lot of cool games after this one.
Thank you so much, RaggedDan, for this fun run of Totally Accurate Battle Simulator. The next run will be Endless ATC by Rawstats, so make sure to stick around so you don't miss that one.